All right, man. Sweetie Candy Vigilante Volume 2, issue number 1, which is actually issue number 7. It picks up from Volume 1 that ended in June of 2023. So we had to wait till this time for the story to continue. And Volume 1 did leave us on a cliffhanger in the streets of New York City. Sweetie walks up to her Sweetie Candy Vigilante shop with Bolt Vulgaire right there. And in the first panel of Volume 2, it does not disappoint. It gives us our cliffhanger. Bart Vulgaire walks up to Sweetie and says, "I see that daddy's sweet little girl is all grown up." And he says, "Well, looks like that you have his eyes." And she says, "Well, that's not the only thing that he gave me, Bart." He says, "Well, I can see that. Good old Sweetie Candy Cane of New York's family cane shop is back." And he points at her and says, "Sweetie Candy Vigilante, what, are you now back in the candy making business? What is that, some sort of mission statement?" And then Candy Wolf is starting to growl at him. And he says, No, wait, come on, sweetheart. What about an old hug for your friend?" And she says, "Don't call me sweetheart. There is nothing good in you anymore." Then Bart points at Sweetie and says, "That wasn't very nice. That's not like you, Sweetie. Seems like you're a little bit off brand. Anyways, looks like you got some new friends." And it points at Pixie Stick and Candy Wolf. And then Candy Wolf starts to get into Bart Vulgaire's face. But Bart is pushing his buttons about Little Red Riding Hood and the big bad wolf, where Candy Wolf can't control himself and he turns into a wolf. And Scarvy's there from Volume 1. And he holds a gun out to Candy Wolf and points it at his head. But Candy Wolf looks at him and says, "Looks like you got the wrong bullets." And Scarby says, "Oh yeah," and pulls the trigger. And the bullet goes right into Candy Wolf's head. And he falls back, but then he gets up and he reaches in with his own claws and pulls out the bullet and says, "That wasn't very nice." And Pixie says everybody wants to be a gangsta until Candy Wolf shows up. And now Sweetie says, "Remind him it is not polite to be shooting your gun off all willy-nilly." And Candy Wolf bites his finger off. And Scurvy starts to scream as blood's going out of his finger. Candy Wolf spits it on the snow with blood forming around it. And then Scurvy reaches in his pocket and pulls out another gun. But before he has a chance to shoot it, Pixie Sticks pulls out her nunchuck Pixie Sticks and throws it at him. And it wraps around his hand. And the candy comes out of the nunchuck Pixie Sticks. And it's like acid, and his hand starts to melt off. And then it comes off her and flies back to Pixie Stick. And she grabs it and puts it in her sock. And then now Sweetie walks over to him and says, you see what happens when you're not nice? I suggest that you tell Candy Wolf that you're sorry for being so mean." and also I suggest that you write a letter to Santa and tell him why you're so bad. And she's just giving him a lecture. And he's like, "Bleep you crazy bleep." And she says, "Now with that potty mouth, you're never gonna get right." And then she pulls out a piece of bubble gum from her pocket and it says "Super Soaper." And then now Sweetie slams the bubble gum in Scurvy's mouth and makes him swallow it. And then he's like, and his mouth like closes up but gets all big where he can't open it. And then he falls on the ground and she walks over to him and says, "That bubble gum is to wash out all the dirty words in your mouth. And now you're clean again, but now your hands are dirty." She's like, "I got something for that," as she reaches to her pouch to grab out another piece of candy. Balt Vulgaire rocks up and says, that's enough," and grabs Scurvy and says, "Get out of here." And then Sweetie says, hey, where you going? We're not done. And now Bart says, you have become a honey-dipped alchemist, and I never thought that would become of you. What would your father think that you've used all this goodness for this? And she says, I am not like my father. He ran the ice cream bunny shop. I run Sweetie Candy Vigilante. And he says this was a bar. She says, I don't know about any bars except for candy bars, chocolate bars, fudge bars, fruit bars. Bart says, well, the owner of this bar was a business associate of mine, but he ended up dead without his head. And Sweetie says, the only thing dead around here is maybe your friend. And he is super nice now. And they start laughing. They're talking about scurvy. And then Bart's like, I had some intel that 2 Germans were involved. Do you have any gingerbread in there? She says, of course, Sweetie Candy Vigilante has gingerbread. I tweaked my dad's recipe just a little bit. And the only thing that I care about is my business, and it's Sweetie Candy Vigilante. Sweetie says that she's on a mission to make this city sweeter, and she is going to find out what happened to her parents and Max Vulgaire. And Bart Vulgaire is like, go ahead, that's a cold case. My father was long gone before he disappeared with your goody two-shoe dad. You and your lollipop loser squad are highly mistaken, thinking you're gonna turn this city into a sparkle candy apple with flying puppies on Valentine's Day. And then Pixie says, we have flying puppies. And Candy Wolf says, on Valentine's Day. And now Sweetie says, Bart, you've always been a miserable chaos goblin. Only if you would have a little sugar in your life. And Bart says, ha, I don't think so. And by the way, don't you know that sugar is bad for you? And now Pixie says, shots fired, shots fired. Now Bart says, remember, I have connections in this town. Me and the mayor are here to shut down all the sugar shops. And then he says, the inventory in that store was mine before somehow you stole it, and you stole from me. I want my inventory back. And Candy Wolf's, yeah, you want these narcotics that you were slinging back? Well, maybe the mayor and the police detectives will find these narcotics that you were slinging. And by the way, Sweetie now is the sugar-coated shot caller in this city now. And then Bart looks up at them with vehicles pulling up behind him, saying, are you sure about that? That she's the shot caller in this city? Now Bart Vulgaire's crew shows up, and they're holding a gun at Sweetie Candy Vigilante and CW and Pixie. One of them says, do you smell gingerbread? And all of a sudden you see Hansel and Gretel riding in on their bull bikes, but they got the ice cream bunny with them in his truck. Scarby now holds out the gun, and he's going to fire at Sweetie, but Sweetie picks up some snow and she forms it into a skull, and then she puts some candy in it and she throws it at Scurvy, and the bullet goes right through the skull, but the skull hits him right in his face, and he falls on the ground and damn near sets on fire. And then now the ice cream bunny is slinging a bunch of Skittles and candy at the goons, and they're all blowing up and melting. And Bart, so this is how it is? This is your new candy justice? So tell me, what are you gonna kill me with? And Sweetie looks at him, and the ice cream bunny says, I got something for you, boss. She says, no, give me that gingerbread jawbreaker gun. And then she holds it out to him. He's like, no, wait, I have something to tell you. And then she shoots it, but kills the goon right behind him, and he blows up. Now Bart is trying to sneak away to get away from them. He's like saying, don't you know that the garbage crew is going to be coming here pretty soon? And what are you going to do? How are you going to explain all these dead bodies? And she says, my bonbon crew will clean them up. And then Bart starts to take off running, and the ice cream bunny says he's getting away. She says, go ahead and let him go. He knows what happened to my parents, and I will get it out of him later. And that's pretty much the whole book right there. I left out a lot of dialogue and stuff, but so funny, and it was such a satisfying first issue of volume 2 because it let you know kind of where it's gonna go. That, you know, Sweetie Candy Vigilante is gonna freaking wreak havoc in the city and take care of all the saltiness and make the world sweet again. So if you guys haven't checked out Sweetie Candy Vigilante, you can watch my whole video trade paperback right there. And I'm going to put that there so you can watch it all. It's all of issues 1 through 6 in a video format, with me pretty much telling you what's going down. But if not, man, go buy the book and read it. But definitely go check out volume 2. It is fun as hell. We got to wait 2 more months for issue 2 to come out on this one, which would be issue number 8. But hell yeah, man. Thank you all for, joining me in this hardcore comic book review. You know, that was kind of like, that was super fun, super jacked to the tits. And you guys remember, you keep it hardcore comics.